All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to day 2, 12 Days of Christmas specials, live streaming giveaways. We're back down in South Padre Island now, so we're delighted to be here. We're delighted to be here with you. And again, we're still working out some live stream snafus, but we will get this. One of the reasons that we're doing this is because we're making a change with our Game Garage, our Friday night event that is at 5 p.m. Central Time every Friday, where we get together to explore game mechanics and game design strategy and play test ideas. So we're changing the format of that starting second week of January. And so we're moving everything over to this new way of doing it. And this was a great way to be practicing to go live with that. So we are here for 12 Days of Christmas, day 2, which is two turtle doves. Two turtle doves. So as we think about two turtle doves, what we were focused on is, as we think about what works with gamified learning, game-based learning design, one of the things is really focusing in on what is the secret to great design. So in the 12 Days of Christmas, there's a lot of birds. We talk about a lot of birds throughout. And one of the reasons is that the birds were extremely valuable and in the period that the 12 days was written. And so as we think about the value of your learners and the value that you're bringing to them. So when we think about gamified learning, game-based learning, there's the value that the organization needs. It's actions that they need the employees to take to bring value to the organization. But there's also things that are valuable to the employee. So what are their goals, desires, ambitions? What will make them engaged and successful? And hopefully we find an intersect between the two of what the company needs, what the employee needs, and that will intersect. And the best way to do that, as we think about this value-driven design, is to make sure that we're matching the mechanics that we use for gamification. And Jonathan, how many mechanics have you identified for game-based learning?
199.
199 game mechanics. So those are the things that make game play fun. What are some examples of game mechanics, Jonathan?
Random from our decks.
Random from our deck is...
First one, Avatar.
Avatar, okay.
We have trophy shelves.
Trophy shelves. So what is a trophy shelf?
So when they get in game, when they get different items, they can put them up on their shelf for other people to see. So if we go back to your avatar, you could put armor on your shelf. You could put items that you would grab in game, and then you'd put it on your trophy shelf so other people can see what other players can see what you've created.
Okay, so your trophy shelf is that things that you've collected along the way because you've accomplished something. You did something that, and then you got something for that, and then you display those on your shelf. So those could be a collection of items that, there's 12 of them to collect, or
badges.
Yeah. Okay. So things of value along the way. So it's kind of like artifacts then, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Zork, right? And collecting artifacts along the way. So that's a lot of fun. Okay. So give me one more. What's another example of mechanic?
Penalties.
Ooh, penalties. Okay. So how would we use penalties?
So sometimes it's as a slowdown. So like a penalty would be, first of all, what's usually used is if you do something that is not supported in the game. So like if you cheated or something, then you'd get a penalty.
Okay.
But sometimes if you land on the wrong square, you have to go to jail, go directly to jail.
Go directly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So okay, good. I got that. So when we think about those, Jonathan's identified 199 of those types of gameplay mechanics that bring that dynamic of fun to play. We can use those in our adult learning programs, 199. So that's fantastic. And that's also what's the great thing about that is that we have 199 mechanics that we can use and what's the worst thing about that? We have 199 mechanics we can use. And where we mostly run amok, where things go wrong, is that we don't know what our players find valuable in the design. And so we put into the design those items that we like. Like I like a game with penalties. I like that little bit of I don't want it to happen to me, but I want it to happen to all the rest of the players, right? I like the idea of trophy shelves, especially if I can gather some really unique or creative or the aesthetics of it is just this gorgeous item that I'm collecting and putting on my trophy shelf. But that's what I like. I am designing programs. What we're not designing for us, right? We're designing for our learners. And what happens, Jonathan, your term, I think it's your term, you came up, is he calls it self-hugging.
That's from Dr. Stephen Reese.
Okay, so Dr. Stephen Reese, who is the creator of the Reese motivational profile that we use for our designs, it is self-hugging is we believe people should be and are
that people are like us. And so what happens when in real life, in your regular life, when someone does something that you wouldn't do, or makes a decision that you wouldn't make, or buys something you wouldn't buy, we see them as wrong because we wouldn't do it. No, they're just different. They have different motivations in life that cause them to say, this is something I want to buy. This is a decision I want to make.
And we think that all the time, right? Like, why would they do that? Why would they spend money on that? Why would they want to go there?
Yeah.
Why would they choose that? But that's from our perspective. So let's cycle back then. If we have 199 mechanics and we need to make sure we're designing for our players, our learners that we're designing our programs for, then we need to know what motivates them. What will they find valuable? What will they treasure? So the way to do that is we've got to create learner personas. And so learner personas take a look at what they find motivating, what their day looks like, how they use technology, do they play games? But we also use the Reese motivational profile, which the language for that, Jonathan, is the only empirically
based taxonomy of human needs and desires. So empirically based, it's actual science. It's not observation. It's not coming up with everybody's motivated by 3 things and then running the test on grad students, which is typically what happens.
All right. We'll stop that conversation right there because we're not going to, right. So when we think about Reese motivational profile, so Jonathan is certified to administer the business. There's a number of different Reese profiles, and we use the business profile. So what we do is for a design that we're creating, we test a percentage of the population. It doesn't have to be a huge percentage. It can be a relatively small. We get a good mix of who those players are. We administer the Reese profile, plus we do motivational interviews. And then we kind of like map it out on a wall. We start doing affinity diagramming and where we see like things together. And when you map it out like that, you can really quickly start to see those areas where these learners that we can create a persona for it. So for example, at Sententia, we have 4 personas that we've developed. And so this is Irene. This is our typical instructional designer. And this is Irene, and she's 50 something. And Irene is not necessarily a female, but our Irene is represented as a female, but it's that instructional designer that is savvy. This is not their first rodeo. They know their business. They know instructional design. They know adult learning. And really, they're here to learn how to bring another technique into what they're designing. So they come to Sententia to learn how to do game-based learning or gamified learning programs. So Irene is a solid instructional designer. Then we have another persona who is Brad. And Brad is more like the person who's coming to adult learning, but they're coming with a really strong gaming background. So they know games. They may not be as strong in instructional design. They may be newer to the industry and just really ramping up, but they know games. They know gameplay. They know how to design games. They've played a lot of games. And even if they don't know how to design, they've played, so they bring that experience. And we find a lot of those individuals in our courses. So we actually have 4 different personas that we design for. We have a Charles. He's the decision maker, like the training manager, the chief learning officer. And then we also have Lena. Lena is our maverick, our young instructional designer, who the only thing holding Lena back is experience, lack of. It's not that Lena can't do something. It's just that she's never done it before. So she's got a lot of first times for doing things. And because we know our personas, these are people who take our courses, then we can design our courses matching mechanics to the motivators, the personas that we've developed for our learners. So let's talk about you. How well do you know your learners? Do you know what they value? Do you know what triggers and motivates them to take action? So, Jonathan, as you think about creating learner personas, what's one thing that comes to mind for you?
For creating them?
Yeah, well, or just in using them even.
Yeah. So it's because it's important to back to self-hugging as we create things that we find as fun. And so that's why we need the persona. So then I can design for Irene, because Irene's not like me. She's very different from me. So when I'm designing, then I can have her right here in front of me on the desk, and then remembering, well, what does she find exciting and fun?
So if we know Irene, because we've profiled her, and the reason that we know them also is we have 3 levels of certification, and in our level 2, which is our journeyman, everyone who takes the journeyman certification also gets to take their own Reese motivational profile. So of course we have a whole database of our real life learners. We've used the same technique that we're telling you to use, and we've just had the opportunity to go into it in more depth. But very early on, Irene was our first persona. We knew that was the person predominantly that was taking our courses early on. But as we think about those motivators that we're matching mechanics to, what are some examples of the motivators that you speak of, Jonathan?
So we also have motivator cards.
Good.
So,
my eye keeps running.
So vengeance, I just drew off the top of the deck. So it just happened to be vengeance. And so what we know from the people going through our course is that call it statistically improbable that they are low vengeance, the folks going through our programs.
Improbable
because it's statistically improbable how low motivated they are, because
so they don't have vengeance.
Yeah, they're low motivated for vengeance.
So wait, I'm confused.
They have a low motivation for vengeance.
So it's just statistically improbable that they'd be high vengeance.
No, that there are so many people. Okay, so when we wrote the book, at that point, 73% of the people who had gone through our courses had the low motivation for vengeance.
Right.
And so that is statistically improbable when you have such a large data set that it would be so strongly. I mean, it makes sense, like high curiosity. It makes sense because that you went into this field, you probably have learning in your title. So that makes sense that pretty much everybody going through our course, it's because it's self-driven, takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. So of course you would be high curiosity, but this vengeance piece was interesting. So what this means is that you're nicer than most people. You're nicer than your learners, statistically speaking.
Right.
So you might enjoy some competition, but you probably don't enjoy having other people lose. So that's like what's important for me in my play, because I happen to be high motivated for vengeance. It's not about me winning. It's about you losing, and losing badly and wiping off the board, like the old game of Risk, the board game of Risk, playing to the last dice roll, so that to watch every one of your armies die as I take over the world.
Okay. So as we think about our learners or your learners, we can't assume that they'll be high or low experience. It all depends on
who they are, what their job
is, what they do.
But we can assume that they have a lower motivation for curiosity than you do.
Okay.
And that means that you're giving them too much information. That means you probably judge them because they're not excited about learning.
Yeah, what's wrong with them? Yeah. What's wrong with these people? Why don't they want to learn this? Yeah. This is a damn good course. They should be excited to take this. Yeah, no, not so much. Yeah. So what would be a mechanic that a high curious person would enjoy? Like exploration?
Yeah, I have exploration here.
Okay.
So territory, if we're looking, so Easter eggs, finding Easter eggs, even high curious might even get into really deep games, or even Rubik's Cube is over my shoulder. The high curious person might like Rubik's Cube, these types of things. So figuring out how to put it all together, and then other learners would be just like, ugh, this is too much work. This is too much words. It takes too long to get the character developed. They just want to get right down to it and start playing.
So penalties, though, would be something that High Vengeance
might enjoy. Yeah, it depends how it's played out, but yeah, so that if someone's doing something, so if a High Vengeance person, if you have to go to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200, that becomes fun for the vengeance person, because you got the penalty.
Yeah. That's why I like to play. I'm not even High Vengeance, though, but I did like playing Sorry for the sake of saying sorry.
Yeah.
Got to go back. Yeah. All right. That's a penalty. Trophy shells doesn't work really for either Curious or Vengeance. So what would trophy shells?
So the things like status is a motivator, is a core desire, so that everybody can see what I've done. And so again, we have a lot of designers who have a low desire for status, and so they would not think, it wouldn't be natural for them to put a trophy shelf into their game.
Except that we also have a lot of designers who are high beauty. So if what they're collecting
is pretty,
aesthetically pretty, unique, different,
you'd want to be able to see it and have other people see it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see that it's critical when we're thinking about designing gamified game-based learning that we've got to know who our learners are so that we can weave in those 199 of those 199, which ones are going to be most valuable for our learners. And unfortunately, the fun part of gamified learning design is the mechanics. And that's where we all want to start, is with the gameplay. Oh, we could bring this, and then we could bring some penalties, and then they could collect this, and we could give them a booster and an unlock and an Easter egg. And but then again, we're self-hugging. We're not looking at, yes, and would they like it? So one of the first things that we do in our courses is we start looking at all these 199 mechanics, and we let our learners play with them and identify which ones they really like, and then compare and contrast with the group of people of which ones they like and which ones they don't like. And it's really easy to start seeing, wait, even in this small group of 4 or 5 of us, there's things that some of us really, really like. And then there's others that I like it and you don't. And that's where we would get into trouble in our design, is that we focus on what we like. So as a giveaway for today, we have our Matchimo game. So our Matchimo game we created a couple years back because we were doing the expo hall at Training Magazine. And in the if you ever been in a vendor hall, people are kind of afraid to stop and talk to you because what's that saying? People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. And in a vendor hall, you kind of feel like people are trying to sell you something. And really, we just want to get to know you and let you learn more about what gamification really is. So we invented this little Matchimo game where you get to choose an avatar or a persona, and then you start designing for that persona. So you can get that free download. That's our today's gift to you, is a free download of the Matchimo game. And I'm really looking forward to February because we'll be back at the training conference, Training 2023, and we'll be in Orlando in February for that. We're doing a pre-conference certificate program, 2 days that will be so much fun. We're going to be doing game-based learning day 1. So we're going to be playing a game to learn how to design a game. And then day 2, we're going to expand on that, and we're going to bring that into, okay, game-based learning is day 1, gamification's day 2. How are they similar? How are they different? How can we use what we've learned and keep building on it? But we'll also be in the vendor hall. And since Training Magazine's theme is May the Learning Force be with you, we're going to do Star Wars as our theme in our booth. And we're gonna, that's my Texas. We're going to have our learner personas are going to be Star Wars characters that if we had to design training for these Star Wars characters, what would their motivators be and how could we find mechanics to match? So we're going to have a blast. I want us to have gamification cantina kind of bar if we can do it. We're still not sure we can get through on that, but we're going to try it. So as you think about your learning programs, are you developing learner personas? Do you know what makes your learners tick? If you're doing game-based learning, gamified learning design, you want to make sure you're doing some kind of motivational interviews and persona development. Jonathan can help you with getting a packet of the Reese profiles at a really great price that you can administer to a percentage of your learners so that you can develop some solid, not just guesswork personas, but really solid personas so you know who you're developing for, and then matching your mechanics to that. So as you think about today, this is the 26th of December. We don't really celebrate this holiday in the United States, but we were talking about a friend who's not in the States. And what's today called?
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. And what is Boxing Day?
Boxing Day is when you take everything back that you didn't want. So those gifts that you got, you don't like them. So you box them up and take them back to the store and return them for something you do want.
So it's kind of right. It fits right in. And it's something I bought you something because I like it. I think, oh, this is such a great gift, but you're returning it today because, well, yeah, that was thoughtful of them, but I don't really, it's not me. I don't like it. It's not the right color. I would never wear something like that. I don't need a power tool. I don't know what it might be. A vacuum cleaner, slipper, right? I don't need that. But when you think about that was not doing, people are returning gifts because it wasn't a good match of what they would like, what they would find valuable, and what somebody was giving them. It didn't have that overlap. So that's perfect. That's right. That's good.
Because we tend to give gifts that we want. So, not what they want.
Not what they want. Yeah. So what else do you want to add? Anything else today?
So the link, if you're looking at this on the screen and up above, you see Sententia, Game Garage, 12 Days of Christmas, Day 2. You see that sequence going. Then the link for Matchimo is right, it should be over one of our shoulders, should be that way, this way. I can't figure out which way I'm pointing. So you'll see Matchimo as a download. If you're watching this live on YouTube, I guess you'll need to reach out to us and we'll send it to you.
Yeah. Or you can go to sententiagamification.com/blog. And for the 12 Days of Christmas, Day 2, what is it?
Turtle doves.
Two turtle doves. You'll see a link where you can download the Matchmo game. You can find that at the blog article too. And in that blog article, we're talking about what really makes game-based learning and gamified learning work. And that is designing what makes your learners tick, knowing who your learners are, what really motivates them, and how can you match the mechanics to them. So I know a lot of you might be thinking, well, I don't know who my learners are because I'm designing a course for a client. It's for them. Or our courses go out into like a public format. But when we have that kind of situation, I like for us to think about like, well, let's walk around and look at it from the other side. So whoever is selling that course or administering that course, like you're designing for a client or public, they have envisioned somebody in the seats, like, butts and seats. They envision somebody taking that course. So if we come to it from the other side of the table, like are they designing this course for? Who are they saying this course is perfect for this group of people? Then you can start looking at, okay, this is for brand new supervisors. Okay, so what would be their background? What's the industry that they're in? How much are they using technology? What are their pain points? How do they like to learn? So we can start getting information from the marketing side of the course rather than from the learning side of the course. And that's a great way to get started with your design also. What else am I missing, Jonathan, that we might want to add here?
And then the other thing I say on that is they chose their job. They chose the company that they work for. Okay. So that says a lot about them as well. You won't see me working for a large CPA company.
Never say never. Never say never.
As an accountant.
As an accountant, yeah.
Nor
Would you want him working.
CPA,
yeah, no. Details.
Yeah.
We don't need those details. Right. So that would not be something. Jonathan is not going to be your high detail. That's a perfect example. You start putting too much information on the screen and Jonathan won't see it. You have to keep it like he's the smartest person I know, but the detail is not.
Can't do the UI
user
interface.
So again, you want to take all that into account as you're designing. And we'll talk more about that over the 12 days about play testing and putting your design into learners' hands early and often so we can see what we thought was going to work. Is it really working, or do we need to change our direction? And we want to know that early and often. So that's good. I love this topic. This is my favorite. Jonathan wrote a book called Deliberate Fun. It's available on Amazon, but it's his theory of fun and theory of play. And that is that we know we all have these 16 core desires. It's just they're all on a plane. How much or how little of each do we have? And so as we're thinking about designing these personas, what mechanics can we specifically use for these different motivators? And Jonathan has that completely mapped in his book, Deliberate Fun. So it's a great resource tool that you want to keep next to you whenever you're doing your design projects. It's not a book you want to like read cover to cover, although it's quite entertaining. It is a good book to read, but it's a resource guide that you'll be pulling out as you do your design, because it'll be your go-to source for matching mechanics and motivators. And I think that's all for today. Download Matchimo, share it with your team. If your team's remote, you can put it all out like on a Miro board, put all the mechanics and motivators out there, and you can play together, start creating your personas. Lots of ways you can do this, both live and virtually. So share this information with everyone on your team, give them access to this link, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. We're doing three French hens. So we're going to be talking about going on the journey of employee engagement. So what does employee engagement really mean? How do we get our employees engaged through our learning programs? So we're going to talk about that with three French hens tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Central. So thanks so much for sharing your time with us. We look forward to getting to know more about you and what you're doing with your learning projects. Leave us some comments, share, like, and we'll see you again. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.